the Holy and Undivided Trinity. Amen. I've been living with this story, this long story, a very long story this week, and I wondered, as I've done with other passages, who first told this story? Because there was the Samaritan woman and Jesus at the well. As far as I know, there was no witness to the conversation, right? And so, who decided that it was worth retelling this particular conversation? Was it Jesus who said, yeah, I confronted her with the truth about who she really is? Or was it the woman who wanted everyone to know? Well, it sounds like it's the woman, because she goes back to her town and she tells him, come and see the guy who told me everything about myself. And I don't know about you in terms of what you were brought up to expect in terms of polite conversation, but I wasn't brought up to expect that polite conversation included telling someone, well, you're right, the guy that you're living with is not your husband and you've had 5. And, it's sort of like, whoa, yeah, man, I guess that's true, but is that really a way to build a relationship with this poor woman at the well? And yet she's like impressed. She's like, wow, you're the one we've been waiting for. The anointed one, when he comes, is going to tell us everything. He's going to tell us about everything. And to her, that's like telling me about everything. And she goes back and she tells all of her friends, come and see this guy, because he told me everything about myself. And they go, he did? And they believe. It's like amazing. It's such a quirky story. And it goes against so many norms. I mean, you could explore all of the social norms regarding Samaritans and Jews, and we could go into all of that. But just look at it from your own vantage point. What do you expect in terms of what it means to engage someone and to have a relationship? We've been trained. I've been trained. You've been trained by people who parented us in terms of how you behave in the world so that you can have a relationship with someone, how you can form community, and how you can move into the life of a stranger, and meeting someone in a shop or on a street or at tea, as that song goes. The saints of God form relationships, and it has to do with being considerate and polite and patient and kind and you were trained, not to make a mess while you're eating and all the different things that we do. And Jesus doesn't seem to have any of that going on in this interaction. He's like, woman, give me something to drink. And she says, who do you think you are talking to a Samaritan woman and asking for a drink? We don't do things like that. It's like, we don't do that. And then he says, oh, if you knew who it was you're talking to, you would have asked, and he would have given you living water. And in this, again, the crazy twists of these stories is like Nicodemus. Was it last week, Nicodemus? Or the week before? Nicodemus last week. And he's like saying, oh, well, how can I be born again? Can I crawl back into my mother's womb? The whole thing is so idiotic. You sort of think, well, really? Are you going to think in that physical way only about what he's saying? And she says, how can you give me living water? The well's deep, and it's like, don't you hear something in this interaction that makes you think he's not talking about the water out of the well, he's talking about something else? And when the disciples come back and they say, come on, Jesus, eat something, because they've gone to the city to get food, and they've come back with it, and they're exhausted too. Did you get that? Jesus is tired, so he's resting by the well, but the rest of them he sends on to shop. And I'm like, where's the politeness in that? But anyway, so they're off shopping, and they bring it all back, and he say, come on, eat something. And they say, oh, I've got food you don't know about. And they're like, well, who gave gave him something to eat. He couldn't have gotten something from the Samaritan woman. We don't deal with them. I mean, it's all so, to me, hilarious as you just go through it. If you'll allow it to breathe that way in your presence, because it's still alive. It's a story that I think was told with laughter. I imagine that that the Samaritan woman telling this story on herself, I've had 5 husbands and I'm living with this guy who isn't my husband, and he told me all about it. What a riot. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? She's not saying with shame, she's saying with celebration. It's like he knows who I am and he loves me. He knows who I am and he connects with me, knowing the truth of who I am. And that was in that interaction. See, polite conversation, as worthy as that is, as important as it is, we're never going to dispense with it. But there's something about being present with truth and love that polite conversation does not really embrace. You can have polite conversation ad nauseum and you'll never be with the truth. You can avoid the truth of what's actually going on because you're being polite and considerate. I do it, you do it, we all do it. Something else is going on in our minds about how we really feel and whatever, and we're doing something else. And unfortunately, and this is why Jesus confronts Nicodemus, and that's why he's confronting the woman at the well, there's a whole nother aspect to life that can be missed if that's all we're doing. If we're just living the polite life. If we're just living the conditioned life. If we're just knowing how to socialize and do what is expected. And live without the risk of breaking the boundaries, of breaking the norms, of letting mismanners be damned. At some points, when you just know there's something else going on here that I need to acknowledge. I need to confront and talk about. And we can have a relationship of truth. We don't have to just always be doing the right thing. Jesus was definitely not doing the right thing. We can sit and say, he let them go shopping. He's talking to a Samaritan woman by himself at a well. This is just really out of bounds. But it was a moment of truth. It was a moment of release, and it opened up the door to 2 days of conversations with another whole community about truth. And it isn't that can we plan for that? No, but it's like that's what Jesus is doing. And so there can be these breakout moments for you and for me, these breakout moments. And they are so important. They're essential. Because we can live our lives to the grave and do everything just right. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. To the grave. And then what? You know what I'm saying? There's more to life. This is why Jesus is saying to Nicodemus, you need to be born not only of water, but of the Spirit. There's something else that has to breathe through you. And the woman at the well, there's a different water to drink. There's something that you drink and come to know, and it wells up in you as eternal life. There's food to eat that isn't just satisfying the body. It's like the food of life itself. And you don't find that through etiquette. It's just, it isn't eaten with a knife and fork. It's not because you have the right table manners or the right recipe book. It's something else. It's a whole different category. This morning at 8 o'clock, somebody came up to me and he said, but what is my real life? That's a great question. That's the question. No one can answer that for you or for me. What is my real life? What is it really? Because if we believe it's what we've been trained to be, or the roles we undertake, or the identities that people ascribe to us, and that's it, we've missed something essential. It's water, yes, it's all of those things. And it's also spirit. You are born of parents. You're raised by parents. We're conditioned into cultures and societies, and we know all these different things, and those are all important. But then there's other water, there's spirit. There's other food that's essential food. And it isn't that someone can tell you what that is for you. It's something you have to find for yourself in your relationship with Jesus. Who am I really? What am I really? That longing to know is life itself. It isn't an answer, it's a quest, it's a longing prayer. Who am I really? What am I really? Why am I really here? Who am I here for? What is life all about? Why? Because there isn't an easy answer to that. There isn't a final answer. But asking that question, it's like Jesus saying, if you'd asked of me, I would have given you water that would sprung up as life eternal. And the woman's saying, oh yeah, give me that water so I don't have to come to this well again. Oh, she missed the point. Okay? And it's being told because I think ultimately she got the point. Because there were 2 days of conversations later. But that question is the question. It isn't like there's this sort of solid thing that you can go and learn to do that means you don't have to drink water anymore. It is that there's life to be found. And the one we ask of it is the Anointed One. And he gives us life. Life beyond life. Life in addition to, with, that doesn't throw away all your conditioning and all the politeness and everything else, but it brings a different snap to it. And that's why laughing through this gospel is to me so appropriate. Because he's really playing with all of that. And in a way that's useful, that's purposeful, that is opening up the doors to eternal life. We need to hear the humor in it, I believe. And we need to take seriously what that humor is all about. When he plays with Nicodemus about being born again, and with this woman about never having to come to a well again, yeah, it's something really. What is my life really about? What is water for me? What is food for me? Who is that me that hungers and thirsts? Is it just a physical thing? Or is it that one that's being born again?